Hey guys, Greg with BTOD TV and BTOD.com. In today's stability test, we're going to be taking a closer look at Autonomous's Pro Standing Desk. Now, this used to be called the Autonomous Premium. They recently rebranded, re-updated, I guess, their products. This also came with a price increase, but the product itself is exactly the same. Now, if you haven't watched these videos before, we like to look at the desk's stability at various heights with various weights. I highly recommend you check out this video linked in the top right-hand corner where we talk in greater detail about what these heights were and the weights and why we chose them. But with that, let's go ahead and get started with the stability test for the Autonomous Pro. Before we go ahead and show you the first test, we want to talk about a couple things. Number one is what to expect with the test. Now, we're going to be able to do multiple tests with this desk because of its capacity and its range. So we're going to be looking at 4 specific heights and then 3 different weights on the surface. You can see we've got the desk set up with the first one. This is 100 pounds. The desk is set at its lowest height, which is about 26 inches, and its max height, which is about 52. And we'll also be checking out 39 and 42.5 inches in between there. Let's go ahead and first start out with 100 pounds on the desk at the bottom height here and see how it is for stability. And much like most standing desks, the Autonomous Pro is rock solid at the absolute bottom. Now, when we take it up to 39 inches, which is the average height of a female in the United States, is where they would stand. So if you're about 5'4", you can see still solid here at this point. But if we take it to 42.5, let's see if it stays as solid with the 100 pounds. Now you can see at 42.5, you can definitely get it going more so than at the 39. And that's especially true with the front to back rocking. Actually, it really doesn't take much at all with this particular desk to get it to rock at 42.5. Now, when we take it up to the max height, which is about 52 inches, this is the weakest point for all standing desks. This is where the desk will perform at its absolute worst. We can take a look here. You can see, much like I said, it really doesn't take a lot to get this desk to get going and start moving. So at its max height, wobble-wise, not stable. And front to back here, you can see the same thing. Definitely a ton of movement there. So the next test we're going to try is going to be 200 pounds on the surface, and we'll run through all those 4 different heights again with you. Our second test again is 200 pounds. So we've got the desk set at 200 pounds. We're at the bottom height. You can see bottom height rock solid, which is about 26 inches. We're going to go ahead and go up to 39. So now once we have the 200 pounds on here, you can see it definitely starts to go easier. You could get it going a lot easier. It's still pretty solid, but you can definitely get it going more with this amount of weight on here. And front to back, I mean, this is really, I think, where this, you can actually hear it squeaking in the columns, and clicking in there at this low height. But this is definitely easily rocked at that 39 mark. So when we go up to the 42.5 mark, we'll see how it does here. Same thing, once you get all this weight on here, because it's kind of easy to get it to move, you can really get it going, and it doesn't take that much. You can see I just push my thumb on the side of it and really get it rocking. You can actually see the feet on there hopping too, so that's transferring all the way to the bottom. And that's just with my thumb. So at 42.5, the rocking is pretty bad on this desk. And now at the max height, which is expected to be not great for really any standing desk, I mean, you can see as I'm grabbing this here, and I'm not putting a ton of pressure on this to get this to go. can actually see, you can see the feet hopping on the floor as it's moving. They actually want to come up off the floor. And that same thing's happening here when we go front to back with the rocking motion. So that's a ton of weight on the top. Of course, 200 pounds. It's below its max capacity. It's a lot of weight, but it's all the way at its highest point. So this is going to be the weakest point with this desk. There's a ton of movement. We're going to go ahead and bring it back down, and we're going to take a look at max capacity, which again is 300 pounds, and see how it performs. It's probably going to be pretty similar. You're going to probably notice some of these things happening a little bit lower, but overall it's probably going to be about the same. For our third and final test, we have the Autonomous Pro maxed out at 300 pounds. You can see the setup, there's all kinds of cinder blocks on here. We've got it set at the lowest point, you know, pretty much like the rest of the test and any of the other ones that you've seen. This desk has no issues at the bottom. Even with the max capacity, there's really no movement at all. Now we'll take it up to that 39-inch mark. Now once we get into this range, you can see once you get it going, and it doesn't really require much effort to get it going. It definitely gets going. There's a lot of weight on the surface for sure, front to back, which as we've seen through the other tests, weakest point on this desk. You know, just pushing my thumb on here. There's quite a bit of movement even at 39 inches. Do the same thing at 42.5. I'm just really barely grabbing on here to get this thing to start going. So I think that's the difference too. When you watch me doing these other tests, you can see some desks I kind of really grab on and, you know, pull and yank on them, and I have to get them to move. Like with this one, it doesn't really require much at all, especially as you get a ton of weight on the surface. And the same thing with the front to back. I mean, I can do this just with one finger or just my thumb. And you can hear the columns clicking, and you can see the move. It's still going right now. At max height, this is going to be the worst. We'll see what it does. I imagine this is where we'll see the most movement through the entire column. The feet, you know, everything require the least amount of effort to get going. And pretty much like everything else we've seen. The one thing that I'm seeing with this right now, just with all this weight pushing down on the desk, it's actually having a little bit better stability in the foot, staying planted on the ground. They're not wanting to hop around like they were with less weight on the surface. So with that in mind, that's good. But you can see, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of effort, and that's a ton of weight moving around on there. So that completes the stability test for the Autonomous Pro, or what was formerly known as the Autonomous Premium Desk. Hopefully this video helped you better understand the stability of this desk at the different heights that we tested. Through the testing, it was really obvious that you could see it did have issues, especially as we got into that mid and upper range, especially as we added more weight. You could see basically through the entire frame, the feet where they were hopping around as we had sort of that 100 to 200 pound capacity on there. Once we got to this max capacity, kind of helped keep those feet more firmly planted on the floor, but there was a ton of movement left to right and front to back. And if we were looking at what was best or a best performance for this particular product, it was definitely the wobble versus the rocking. The rocking motion, that front to back, is worse on this particular desk than the wobble, so that's something that you should definitely consider when selecting your next standing desk. Hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. We got a ton of these stability videos coming out. We're always putting out new stuff, and if you're interested, this is definitely the channel you want to subscribe to. Thanks a lot for watching.